Hi everyone and welcome to my tech channel. In this video we'll see how to add external dependencies to our projects. So suppose now we have some CC binary which uses a library, but we do not have access to this library locally. So in this case the library has a function called greet which returns a string which is hello and then a name which we pass in as an argument. And this library is on GitHub, as we can see. So I want to use this library, and this library is not compatible with Bazel. It's just source code. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pretend I have the files locally, and I'm going to go ahead and create a package. And as we already know, a package must contain a build file. So once I have my package, I will create a second build file, which I will give a name, in this case greeter, and I will name it greeter.build. So in this, and then the next step is to go to the workspace. Remember, in one of the previous tutorials I said that when things get complex, we're going to modify this workspace file. In the workspace file, I will first load the HTTP archive rule, and then I'm going to create an HTTP archive type target. I can name it as I please. The next attribute will be the URL, and then we'll see a little bit later how to populate these attributes, but I'm going to go ahead and add all my attributes to this HTTP archive target. The next attribute will be the SHA. This will be the SHA sum of my repository, then the build file, and finally we're going to add another attribute which is strip prefix. I'll explain why a little bit in a short. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to populate these attributes. So the URL will be the URL of your repository, but you will need to add a few elements. You'll add tarball / master to the name of the repository. So in this case it's the GitHub username, then the repo name, then tarball, then master, and then just file name. It can be anything. filename.tar.jz. We want the URL to finish by tar.jz. Next, you're gonna put this URL in your browser and download the archive, so you can get the SHA 256 sum using a terminal. So the next thing I'm gonna do is pop a terminal window, and I'll go to my download folder, and then I'll grab, using the SHA 256 sum, I'll grab the SHA of the archive file that I just downloaded. And then I'll copy paste this into my workspace file under the SHA attribute. And then the build file is the workspace path to the file that we created a bit earlier in our greet lib package. So it's /greetlib :greeter.build. And the strip prefix is due to the fact that when we download the archive, inside the archive there is a folder with this name. So when Bazel extracts it, it's gonna see this folder here, and we don't want to have to add this to all of our source files in the include statements. So we're gonna have to strip this prefix. We're gonna tell Bazel to get rid of this prefix. And then the next thing to do is to populate the build file for this library. So I'm going to go ahead and create a CC library target. I can give it any name that I please. This name is arbitrary. I'm going to call it greetlib to be consistent. And then I'm going to pretend I have the files locally. And as we know from looking at the GitHub repository, the sources are greeter.cpp, and the header files are greeter.h. I say R because they're lists, but in fact these are single files. And let's not forget to add the visibility attribute, which will make possible to use this library from other packages. And then we are ready to go. We can use this library now in our project. So I will add the library as a dependency, as we've seen in previous tutorials, to my CC binary, and I finally will be able to build. I should be able to build now. So notice here that the way that I write the dependency is @ and the name from the external dependency as in our workspace file, and then a double slash and a colon, and that's the path to my Greek library. And then if I try to go ahead and build this, I get an error. Okay, it's not SHA, it's actually SHA-256. So let's go ahead and rename this attribute, and let's try to build again. And it's building. Let's try to run it to see if we're getting the expected output. And here it is. Hello, John. So we have used some source code from a Git repository in a project, and that source code was not compatible with Bazel at first, but we made it compatible. This all went really quick, so I want to rewind a little bit and review what we've done. The first element I want to consider is this entry in the workspace file. This is what gives us access to the contents that are in GitHub. The build file attribute from this HTTP archive is what creates the link between this external repository and this build file, and allows us to use the contents on GitHub to create a CC library. Then once we have this library, we can use it in any of our other packages. And in this case, we've used it in this CC binary here. The next thing that I want to review is the syntax of the deps here, which specifies the dependencies for this CC binary. The @greet_lib refers to the entry in the workspace file and tells Bazel that it needs, in order to build this target, to fetch this dependency from an external repo. It's followed by a double slash and a colon, and after the colon, this greet lib refers to the target name here, which is our CC library. So although these are the same name, they do not refer to the same thing. This is the external dependency's name, and this is the local definition of the CC library, although this might sound confusing at first. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.